Well, the Ukraine crisis has seen millions flee their homes to neighbouring countries, Poland alone accepting nearly 1.5 million Ukrainians into its society.
It's already creating new pressures on public services and housing, but Poles seem to be taking it in their stride so far. But how long can that last? Well,
GBNews presenter Isabel Oakeshott has travelled to Warsaw on a trip put on by the UK Parliament's all-party group on Poland, and she spoke to the Deputy Prime Minister to find out how the country is coping with the influx of refugees.
I slept only 2 hours because I was at the railway station discussing how we can improve the system to welcome refugees, because there is a tension, there is a lot of problems, but we are solving this problem all the time. So anyway, that's why I'm tired and I can't speak English.
1.5 million refugees have now poured across the border from Ukraine into your country. This is already a huge crisis for Poland. How much worse do you think it could get?
My się spodziewamy, że może być znacznie więcej uchodźców.
We think that there might be 4 or 5 million refugees coming, in comparison to the number we have seen so far today.
5 milionów, ale to 1,5 miliona.
To put that into context, the immigration crisis we saw in 2015 saw that amount come to Europe in just 1 year.
Przybyło w ciągu roku do Polski w 2 tygodnie.
Do you think other countries are doing enough to help in this crisis with the refugees?
Po pierwsze, faktycznie jest wielka mobilizacja.
Firstly, there has been an amazing effort by the Polish people, our NGOs and the Polish state that has allowed us to accommodate this additional 1.5 million people.
Rządów lokalnych.
We have a similar culture to Ukraine, so it has been relatively easy for us to do this. And we have had experience of economic migration from Ukraine in recent years, and we've accommodated around the same amount of Ukrainians in that. I hope that you have had a similar experience with Poles in Britain.
Do you know how many refugees the UK has taken so far?
Nie wiem jak to będzie, bo w tej chwili część tej fali.
I don't know. Some refugees have asked us how they can get to Western Europe, and we have been trying to provide them with transport there. But the Western countries are more interested in declarations than actual deeds. We are having to accommodate refugees in our sports arenas, while Europe's politicians debate whether to let them in or not.
Natomiast nie przekłada to się na konkretne rozwiązania.
Let me tell you that the UK has so far taken less than 1,000 refugees from Ukraine. How do you feel about that?
No, mam nadzieję, że będzie lepiej.
I would not say this is a crisis. This is the result of the cruel war that is happening in Ukraine. It's not a crisis for us.
Oczywiście, że my spodziewamy się, że zwłaszcza nasi przyjaciele.
I am sure that our Western friends, the Brits for example, will help us with the effort to help Ukraine, both in a humanitarian sense and in terms of helping the Ukrainian army and military to defend their country.
I pomagać Ukrainie.
Do you feel disappointed by the reaction of allies in this crisis? Do you feel let down?
Rozczarowanie w polityce.
Disappointment in politics is not a pleasant feeling, but we are realistic, so we don't feel disappointed. This war is a result of neglect shown by European leaders and the European Union.
To jest bardzo trudna decyzja. To musi być decyzja wszystkich krajów NATO.
The question of a no-fly zone is a very tough decision to make. It should be a collective decision of NATO, because as the Deputy Prime Minister of Poland, I could not say.
Zająć tutaj jasnego stanowiska. Chciałbym.
We offered to give up our fighter jets to NATO to be passed on to Ukraine, but we need a collective decision from NATO to do that.
Licząc właśnie na decyzję kolektywną.
Do you fear that if President Putin gets away with these actions in Ukraine, that he could ultimately threaten Poland?
Mój kraj już jest.
We are already threatened by Putin. It's not a case of will we be threatened, we already are. And if we are threatened, the whole of NATO and the whole of Eastern Europe is threatened.